Hello. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. I'm pulling up our presentation and we'll get this started right away. Feel free to enter in any questions into the Q&A feature of the webinar, or even I think there's a way to add in. Oh, there's no chat on this, so yeah, try to use that Q&A feature. And actually, there is a chat, so if you want to chat in some questions too, that's perfectly fine as well. Pull this up as a PDF so that we can share these slides nicely. And this is also being recorded. Pending any technical issues, I'll be able to send that out as well if you're needing to drop off early. Get rid of this sidebar. And let's get started. It looks like everybody's just able to join right in without me letting them in. So might as well get this going. My name is Donato D'Andrio. I'm the president of Compete Now Web Design and digital marketing, but much more primarily focused on building and redesigning websites in WordPress. And then once that part of things is done, we've also become specialists in maintaining WordPress websites and ensuring that they're secure. It is why we're doing this webinar today. It's a question that comes up often, not as often as it used to, but when we're going through RFP processes or just general proposal processes, the question does frequently come up, is WordPress secure? Or the question will come up, or somebody will say, I thought WordPress wasn't secure. You know, if I get a WordPress website, what I might get hacked. And the truth is that, you know, regardless for the most part of what website you're on, there's always the potential of a security hole or a website getting hacked. And we hear about it all the time. Even sites, even very large sites have security breaches. So with WordPress, it can be secure if you're doing all of the right things ongoing, or you're paying a company like mine to do it for you. So we're going to go through some of our best practices and give some education, as well as just share some of the tools that we use for our own WordPress maintenance. So if you want to do it yourself, or you're just curious how we do it or what our opinions are, then you'll be able to get an idea for, you know, what you might be able to do on your own, or just at least know what we would be doing if we were doing it for you. All right, so I just gave my introduction and an overview of the presentation and the goals of what we're hoping to cover. Whoops. All right. Is WordPress secure? Just to reiterate, I'm going to say it is secure in the right circumstances, just like any other website builder, content management system tool that you could use. It most certainly is secure, and just need to be following the best practices to ensure that security. How can you make it more secure? That's definitely a question, and out of the box, it's secure. But then as time goes by and things change, and plugin authors release updates, and WordPress releases updates, and host change, it's definitely important to have some things in mind to keep WordPress secure. One of them actually is just choosing the right hosting company. Choosing a secure website host definitely impacts the security of your website. I believe I read a stat that about 40% of websites that are hacked are actually hacked through the host. Your host will never admit that. You know, if it's a problem on their end on a shared environment and your website's hacked because there was another website on the same environment that gets hacked. But that is definitely something to keep in mind when you're choosing a hosting company and trying to decide which one that you're going to go with. Is to make sure you're going with a hosting company that doesn't need to be a hosting company that's charging $1 a month or a year to host your website, and they're packing you on with hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of other websites, because a lot of those sites in the same shared environment probably aren't going to be following the practices that we're going to cover in this presentation. Probably none of them. They're probably all sites that are just lingering and could be a security risk to your site if you're sharing space with them. All right. Some other just basic tips to incorporate with your WordPress website that you own or that you're managing for your clients this is a very basic one, but using a strong password and then storing it either in a password vault or written down somewhere. Even that could possibly be a security risk if somebody manages to get in your office and find the password, but probably that's usually less likely to happen than somebody that is going to find it on the internet. But yeah, use a strong password, even update it from time to time. I'll also add to this list limiting the number of administrator users that are on your website. So if you have 4 admins on the website and one is your old web guy and one is the old web guy before that web guy, just delete those users. There's no reason to keep it active, and it's only one. It's just that one extra user that could potentially get hacked through the website if they were using a weak password. Limiting login attempts is very important. That's just a very, very basic but very important feature, so that if somebody or a hacker does get your username for the website, just making it so that they can't run some kind of bot program to guess the password on the website thousands of times until they get it correct. Because even if you're using a fairly secure password, if they're able to run a program like that that's going to try to guess the password, they'll eventually get in. Limiting the login attempts at least locks their IP out so that they can't continue doing that. There's also using two-factor authentication. So that's another, we don't use that a lot on a lot of our sites, that we find that limiting the login attempts and then the secure passwords is, for the most part, enough. But if you do want to go above and beyond when it comes to login security, two-factor authentication is a great way to do that. There's a few plugins that do that, and it will make it so that anytime you log in, you could be emailed or texted a code separately that you then have to enter into the website to log in. So it can be pretty annoying if you're logging in frequently, but it is an added security feature that can make WordPress more secure. Keeping WordPress up to date is, of course, very important. Those updates come out fairly frequently, so you want to make sure you log in and update WordPress to keep that up to date. And then keeping all of your plugins up to date is the other big priority. Most of the websites that we've seen corrupted is usually through an out-of-date plugin or something like that. So you do want to make sure that you're keeping those plugins up to date. And choosing a secure website host is the additional tip. The purpose of website hosting, if you don't know already, it's always, it's not surprising anymore. A lot of our clients that we work with don't know the difference between a website host or a domain registrar. We recently had a client that we are managing their hosting and their WordPress updates for, and they had about 4 different products from GoDaddy. They were paying $180 a month, and they didn't really need any of them because they were paying for a bunch of extra tools for a website that it wasn't even a WordPress site, and they were paying for like managed super security WordPress hosting. So, but the purpose of a host, it allows you to host your website. It's the real estate on the internet for your website. It isn't always the same provider that has the domain name registration. So it's often 2 different companies. Makes your website visible. Ideally, if you're picking the right host, they'll also assist with security and regular backups. If you have a good host, you also have an advanced firewall, and also a host that includes SSL security certificate with your website, which is also very important to make sure your site's secure. And also just in the way that browsers work nowadays, they want you to have the SSL on your website, regardless of if you're processing transactions or not. So getting a host that's going to provide that for you as part of the hosting package is also highly recommended. There are a few hosts, including, I believe, GoDaddy, that will still sell you a SSL certificate separately from your hosting. which can just be a little bit of a headache when that SSL expires and you need to renew it. It's just a whole nother product you need to manage separately from your hosting, which is one of the reasons why we don't recommend GoDaddy as a host, amongst others. Other reasons too. Very good for domain name registration and management. They work fine for that, but not so much for the hosting. These are the two that we really like. There's SiteGround, which is, I see it as the best value-based Walmart hosting company. And it's good for a company like mine where we're hosting hundreds of websites. It's fairly reseller friendly, and the site speed is pretty good. But we do have to supplement SiteGround hosting with a number of our own tools for backups and security scanning and other stuff like that. So if you are a individual or single business and you have one or two websites, WP Engine is just by far the best WordPress host that I would recommend. But if you do have dozens of websites you need something that's a little bit more reseller agency friendly, then SiteGround it has been really good, and using additional third-party tools can match a lot of what you get from WP Engine. You still don't get the technical support, but if you have a team that are developers, then you don't really need as much technical support. But if you're just an organization and you have a WordPress site and you just are going to pick any WordPress host, this is by far the best place to be. WP Engine, great security. The support is amazing through live chat support, or I probably phone too, but we don't really call them. But WP Engine is one that we would recommend if you are going to pick your own website host. And it's more expensive. I think it's like $35 a month for WP Engine, which is, in my opinion, a fairly nominal fee for something as important as a website. And then if you had one website and you're going to use SiteGround and try to use additional tools to match WP Engine, you'll end up paying more than that $35 a month anyway. All right. How can developers make your website more secure? So this is another question we can cover today. See where your plugins are coming from. It's such a simple thing, but one of the fun things with WordPress that I enjoyed a lot over the years is just finding new plugins and new solutions for any task that you can think of, really. But the problem with that is you end up installing dozens of plugins on your website, which does slow it down, but it also makes it more vulnerable to a hack or an attack, because if you're adding lots of plugins over time and you're adding plugins from authors and plugin authors that maybe aren't going to be maintaining those plugins because they're a smaller, maybe it was just a little side project and then they're just not really going to keep up with ongoing problems, that can become an issue. That's definitely could be a bit of a problem. So you want to make sure that when you're picking plugins, you're trying to get something that has hundreds of thousands of installs and great reviews and frequent updates and releases. It's good to do some research when you're picking plugins to use in your website, aside from just looking at the screenshots of the settings and saying like, oh yeah, this is what I need for this site. So I'm just gonna go download it and then, hope for the best. That's definitely a pretty important aspect to keep in mind. And let's see, the next thing is just checking malicious domain activity, making sure your domain isn't on any blacklists or anything that's indicating that your domain has been compromised and is sending out malicious emails or anything like that. That's one way to make sure that your domain is not corrupted. Updating plugins frequently, as we mentioned before. A lot of our clients have us go in and update their plugins every 6 months. We found that frequency to be fairly good for most of our brochure site, informational site clients. Sites that are more complicated or high traffic will do it monthly. But updating the plugins at least every 6 months or once a month if you can is definitely recommended. But you do want to keep an eye on the plugins and hopefully have a program like Security. There's a Security plugin you can install on your site so that if you are going to go and up, like we do on our clients, if you're only going to be going in every 6 months to update plugins, a plugin like Security can email you and say, hey, this plugin has been found to have a vulnerable version and this plugin is on your website. You need to check it sooner. And that's what we'll do. If there's a plugin on the website that is getting exploited and being hacked, then in between the scheduled maintenance run, we'll go and update that plugin in between. But over 90% of the time, we'll go check that. And since we're updating the plugins every 6 months, it's already an update version past that version of it being exploited. So that's just a good thing to know, to keep in mind. Just nice to know is most of the time when these plugins are getting hacked, it's from a version that's a year or two at least old. So if you're keeping up with it every 6 months or so, it's oftentimes going to be okay. But if you can do it more frequently, great. Most of our clients just pay us every 6 months, and then it keeps the cost down, and it's not overkill for the needs. We mentioned checking how many installations a particular plugin has is an important practice to choosing a secure plugin. If there's a lot of installations, it's more likely that it's a plugin that's actively maintained for bugs and security. And also the compatibility with the latest versions of WordPress. We have run into this issue a few times with clients. Aside from security issues, if you use a plugin that's deprecated and no longer supported, eventually it's going to stop working with WordPress. And if that plugin is a key essential part of your website, it's going to stop functioning, and then your website's going to be only partially working eventually when you need to use the newest version of WordPress, which some of these hosts will require you to be running on the latest versions of WordPress. So better to be proactive and ahead of a website breaking because of a broken plugin. And if you have to replace the plugin with a different one, you're going to want plenty of time to do that and test it and set up a separate staging environment to do it. These are some of the security plugins that we recommend. The middle one is Security. The left side one is WordFence. That's the one we really like to use. And this is the one that we use. Actually, we use it with WP Engine now. They made it so the plugin can play nice with WP Engine's built-in security plugin. This also has limit login attempts as an added feature. And then if you do the pro version, you can get, if you do the pro version, you can also get like block other countries from accessing your site. So a lot of the times when we see websites getting hacked, it's from an IP address or somebody located in Russia or China or something like that. So, if you're Stacy's Bakery, you probably don't need traffic from outside the US. And it's probably safe to do the pro version of WordFence and just block traffic from outside the country. Then there's Security. That's another good security plugin. I've always liked to use it just for the feature of they maintain a list of all the vulnerable plugins, and they can send you notifications if you do have if there is a vulnerable plugin installed on your site. And I think this is the Blog Vault logo. So this is like the tool. This is the tool that I would recommend using if you go with a value kind of cheap host like SiteGround. We have this installed on our maintenance clients' websites, and it's been a great tool. It allows for ongoing malware scanning, daily remote site backups. We can create staging sites with one click, do the work, and then deploy it back to the live site fairly easily. There's a lot of really nice features with Blog Vault. It also, another newer feature is there's an activity log. So if somebody goes in and breaks something on the website, or they're saying something weird happened as a result of doing something, we can actually see that in the activity log, which is a kind of a really nice feature. So there's a lot of good things built in with Blog Vault. I'll actually quickly share my screen because this is such a good tool. If you have was primarily a WordPress backup plugin, but they've really expanded it beyond that. So let's see. Yeah, they have all these different things: backup, restore, staging, migration, backups, just lots of different features that will be very useful for any WordPress website owner that wants to have better security, better backups, because you do want a plugin like this, and I'd rather have a plugin like this backing up the website to a third-party location instead of having a plugin that's going to store all your backups on your website host itself. And if you forget to delete the older backups, it's eventually going to fill up the disk space on the site, and you can have issues that way. So I do recommend using a solution that's going to back up remotely and store the backups for longer periods of time. A lot of the hosts will only store about 14 days worth of backups. And if you have, if you have a website that's hacked for over a month and you don't find out, then all those backups will be corrupted. And it's nice to have a clean version of that website backed up if you need it. Or plus, if you ever have a major issue with your website and you need to restore from a backup, getting the hosting company to do the restore can be kind of tricky. Not with WP Engine, but I've seen with like Bluehost, it takes like 3 days to get them to restore a backup. And then half the time they'll restore the backup the wrong way, or something will get messed up. So it's nice to not have to rely on your web hosting company to help you, assist you with restoring a backup. Installing an SSL certificate, just needed to highlight this one more time, is very important on the website. Most hosts make it very easy and free, included with the hosting, to enable a SSL certificate on your site. So we definitely recommend doing that. It seems like most sites are on a secure connection at this point. If a website is not hosted on a secure connection, it'll actually say not secure next to the link. So that definitely has a big impact on the overall results of your site. All right, so some of the options for securing website security is to either do a lot of the things that we've talked about today, just to highlight having a security plugin on your website, picking the right website host, ideally WP Engine, because there's going to, like, a lot of this that we talked about today is going to like built into their hosting platform, or doing a lot of these tips and tricks, or just pretty much hiring us as another, in our opinion, a great option for what you can do. I can share our plans that we provide for that, so you can share them with anybody who might be interested. We also obviously service websites in general, but these are what most of our clients are on. We have these different plans. We have the Essentials, which is pretty much like WP Engine's hosting, except with an actual local company of web developers that can really because WP Engine will give you a live chat and tell you what to do, but most of the time they're not actually going to do it for you. And with our plan, we're able to provide more hands-on support. So that one's $50 a month. That provides just basic hosting, but no scheduled updates or scheduled updates for WordPress or plugins or some of the other tasks that we do, but still a lot better than most hosts. And if anything ever does happen, we're easily able to jump in and assist. Or if you have support tickets and we're hosting a site, it's much easier for us to support a website that we're hosting, and we have all of our backups. And we had another client that's on this particular plan that it turned out their theme wasn't compatible with the newer versions of PHP. And since we already had them on our hosting for a much lower cost, we were able to quickly generate a staging site and then update the theme and do some testing. And if they weren't on our hosting or on this plan, at least, it would have been a lot more of a hassle. Most of our clients are on a gold plan for $85 a month, which includes everything in the hosting. Plus, we go in twice a year and update the plugins, check for broken links, test on the different browsers, check on mobile devices, because as things and time goes on, things can get quirky, and we like to do, it's almost like having somebody do a spot check of your website just while we're in there updating WordPress and plugins, because we like to add some of these additional services in while we're in there. Staging sites included. So if some of our clients want to do the work on a staging site themselves without it being live, maybe they need to have the board review changes or whoever, that's been a very useful little nice value-added feature that we're including. And we include an hour of general updates per maintenance run. So the month leading up to your scheduled maintenance, we'll email to let you know we're going to be going in there and doing these changes and these updates that are just more so routine. But it gives the clients an opportunity to say, hey, I've been meaning to ask you all to do this for me, you know, and they add that task, and that gets included in the work that's going to be done with that maintenance run. So that's been a very popular plan and good peace of mind for most of our clients. And then we have Platinum for 140, which is we go in once a quarter and update the plugins. And if you're for websites that are on a monthly plan, that's usually a more custom plan where we're doing all of this plus a budget of 5 to 10 hours or whatever number of hours of additional work per month to improve the website over time. So there's usually more design and development tasks added on top of that. So that's a more custom plan that we have. All right, so those are the main things. I did record it, so we'll be able to send it out if there are follow-up questions or if I went too fast in a few areas, which sometimes I can do. But if anybody has any questions now before I end the call, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section or in the chat. I'll just give it another couple of minutes, and yeah, would love to answer any additional questions you might have. Coming into it, I'm assuming everybody's a WordPress website owner. All right, we'll just give it another minute or so. And then while I do that, I'll show WP Engine. This is actually a good question that just came in. So the question was, do you enable automatic updates for plugins? And we don't enable automatic plugin updates because we're doing them for our clients. And that's really more so because we're performing those updates. The downside to enabling automatic plugin updates is that it could cause something on the website to stop working. That's something that we've seen. And the plus side of that is, you know, if an automatic update fails and the plugin is deactivated, you know, that kind of eliminates a possible security risk to the site. So then your site is partially not working, but at least it's not vulnerable to attack. So that's the plus side of an automatic update. But the downside that we've seen is usually it could end up breaking something, and then nobody knows that it caused that issue until it's too late. And then you're either hearing from customers or, in our case, clients that are reporting something's down with the website. So we don't enable automatic updates for those reasons. We rather, you know, have those updates wait until we're able to go in there and update them and then confirm that everything's working properly after that update. And if not, roll the update back, set up a staging site, and do the work that's needed to figure out what the conflict is and how we can fix it. All right, so that's that. And then this is WP Engine. And if I go over to pricing, I think they reduced the price. It used to be $35 a month. So now it's only $25 a month. And you get some good features built into it. Proactive threat blocking and security, automated WordPress PHP updates. Looks like they're including themes if you want to build your site. But this is definitely one that has a lot of great features built into it that are worth it, I think, to most website owners. And if you don't want to sign up directly, then we do provide hosting as well. That has all the features that WP Engine adds in and the additional personalized service to do a little bit more. All right, this was one more question, updating plugins first or WordPress first. Typically update WordPress first and then the plugins. That's how I do it anyway, but I think it must be more of a little bit of a preference, but I'm pretty sure it's WordPress first and then plugins next. All right, thank you. I hope everyone has a great day. And yeah, we'll be sending out the recording in a separate email as soon as it's ready. Thank you.